This is the 2021 Dodge Durango SRT Hellcat, and it is an absolute monster. And the reason why is because it's powered by a 6.2-liter Hemi supercharged V8 engine. Absolutely beautiful. Now, a couple things about this one in behind me. It's got the optional technology package, which gives us the adaptive cruise control system. And this thing also has the sunroof. Because this is the SRT Hellcat, it is only available in a 6-seat configuration, but it's an absolute beauty. Steve here, Cars with Steve, and before we dive into this SRT Hellcat, I want to give Pickering Chrysler Dodge a huge shout out for giving me access to this vehicle to shoot the video for you today. Check down in the description below for their contact details. Now, this is going to be a quick walk around looking at some of the basics of this vehicle. If you're looking for more specifics, like how the technology works in that media screen, so things like setting up Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, check down in the description below because I've got a technology walk around as well. Now, I also will hide an Amazon gift card code somewhere in this video. You're the first one to find it, claim it, and it's yours. But let's have a little bit of fun. Take a peek underneath the hood, figure out the cargo dimensions, the spacing, and everything you need to know about this beauty. All right, now take a peek underneath the hood of the SRT Hellcat. This thing is absolutely beautiful. Now, the Durango lineup does technically have 4 available engine choices, but the SRT Hellcat is special. It's got this gorgeous 6.2-liter supercharged Hemi V8, and it looks absolutely beautiful under here. From a power perspective, this thing is going to be able to push out 710 horsepower and 645 pound-feet of torque. That is insanity. I love the amount of power that's stuffed underneath the hood, and I love that Dodge hasn't gone with an engine cover to cover up the beauty that is this engine. Taking a look here, we've got some easy access to top up a few fluids if we need to. We've got easy access to check our oil, and then we can also give people a boost just along the very top there. But I love the look of this thing. We've got beautiful pipes set up there, nice wiring. It just aesthetically looks absolutely incredible. Now, because this is the SRT Hellcat, we've got this beautiful Hellcat badge there. Looking at the tires themselves, the Durango is going to have either 18 or 20-inch tires, again, depending on your trim level. The SRT Hellcat is going to have a 20-inch tire with this beautiful rim. I love the split-spoke style of it. And looking at it from a general performance standpoint, inside of the SRT Hellcat, we are going to have Brembo brakes, so we do have improved performance because there are also 6-piston calipers. Like, this thing is available rear-wheel drive, but all-wheel drive, but because of the pure amount of power in this thing, we definitely want that improved braking performance that we're going to find inside of this specific trim of the vehicle. Now, the other trims of the vehicle, like we look at the base SXT, the GT, etc., they've got great braking performance, but when we get into these Brembos, it's just a step above. It is absolutely beautiful from a handling perspective. Now, as I mentioned, we do have the option either for strictly rear-wheel drive down in the States or all-wheel drive up in Canada. So it is going to depend on which trim level you're in, because we get into the SRT and the SRT Hellcat, and they are strictly going to be all-wheel drive instead. But absolutely gorgeous look. Now, this specific one does have the optional technology package. What that means is that we also do have the option for the adaptive cruise control, which is your set it and forget it cruise. We'll touch base on that one in a bit. But we've got our beautiful LED headlamps there, beautiful front looking along the side. I love the look of the grille here. Now, along the top of the hood, we also do have these functional scoops, and that's one of the beautiful things is because they are actually functional, not just there just for an aesthetic look. They do stuff, and they actually do shoot a little bit of extra air underneath the hood just to give you slightly better performance, because we want to keep that engine cooler, especially looking at the 6.4 or the 6.2 Hemi Supercharged, because these things can run a tiny little bit hot because of the pure amount of power in them. Inside of the SRT Hellcat, we also do have a performance lip along the bottom, and one of the benefits there is it's going to give us a little bit of added downforce. Because of the amount of power, it's going to help the vehicle grip the road a little bit better. Now, moving to the back end of the vehicle, so absolutely beautiful look. I love the look of this. We've got our LED signature lighting in the back there, Durango badge along the left-hand side, and we've got the SRT Hellcat badge along the right. We've got our backup camera standard as well as the reverse wiper, so definitely a nice thing. Now, we do have the option for the tow package from the factory as well. How much you can tow is going to depend on which trim level of the vehicle you go for, specifically what's going on with the engine underneath and how you have this thing configured. Maximum towing capacity inside of the Durango lineup, we're going to be 8,700 pounds. SRT Hellcat, 8,700 pound towing capacity. So there is plenty of towing power inside of this thing. And again, like I said, styling of it, I am in love with the way that this thing looks. So in this beautiful white, this thing just had a ceramic coating done to it as well. So it looks super, super sharp. Now taking a peek along our driver's side door. So we've got a button there, we can press that in order to be able to lock the door. But hopping in the inside here, so depending on the trim level of the vehicle, you might have seat memory buttons. As you can see there, we've got individual seat settings. We can control what's going on with our side view mirrors, our basic window control, and then we can also either lock or unlock the doors. Moving down driver passenger side, we do have a little bit of storage space along the side doors, as well as a little bottle holder there. Moving inside the vehicle. So just to the left-hand side of the steering wheel, as you can see there, we've got a series of different switches. First one there is going to let us change what's going on with our running lamps. I always recommend just keeping it in the auto mode. And then we can also increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen. Now, depending on your trim level of the vehicle, your steering wheel might be a manual or a power adjust. So this one, we've got telescoping power there, so we can go in and out, up and down with it there. Moving down a tiny little bit, we do have our pedals for the SRT, so beautiful look. We do have our parking brake along the side, and then we've got our hood release along the very top there. Now, looking at the actual seat itself, so as you can see there, we are 10-way power, so we can go, when we can adjust the backrest itself, we can move the seat forwards, backwards, up and down, and then we've got our 4-way lumbar support as well. All right, now moving into the driver's seat of the vehicle, I am thoroughly impressed. This thing looks absolutely beautiful for so many reasons. Now, depending on the trim level of the vehicle that you've got either a 6 or a 9-speaker Alpine sound system, but there is the option for a 19-speaker Harman Kardon sound system. I'm going to fire this thing up in a little bit to see what that sounds like, but beautiful, beautiful sound, and the speakers, you can tell, are literally all over the place. Like, I cannot wait to kind of give this thing a little bit of a crank so that I can hear what it sounds like, but beautiful look there. Now, looking at the steering wheel as well as the media screen, this part of the video, it's just going to be a basic walk around of these buttons as well as that media screen. If you're looking for a fuller walk around, like a diving deep on how all of these things actually work, check in the description below because I have put together a comprehensive video. But let's look at some of the basics. So we do have, along that left stick, we can control our front and our rear wiper, so very straightforward there. We've got paddle shifters, so we can adjust whatever gear we're in as we go. And then just below our paddle shifters, so we do have a series of different buttons there. So we can figure out what's going on with the volume. We can do things like seek out stations, change stations, things like that by pressing these buttons along the back of the steering wheel. We've got a single steering wheel pad there, which is going to let us determine what's going on with the cluster screen. So we can kind of adjust the screen out from there. We can answer or hang up on a phone call, and we've got a voice command prompt to do things like make phone calls, change radio stations, things like that. Along the right-hand side, that's where we get into our cruise control. So one of the nice things is that we do have the optional technology package for the adaptive cruise control system, and that's your set it and forget it cruise. So you set it at, let's say, 100 kilometers an hour on the highway. If the car in front of you slows down, yours will brake. They speed up or get out of the way, yours will resume your set speed again. So it is a very smart system there. So we've got our basic controls there. We've got a distance indicator, so how close or how far are we away from the vehicle that's in front of us. Now, the media screen itself, well, let's just fire this thing up. So nice. But looking, we've got our SRT Hellcat logo along the top there. And now this is the option. I'm just going to turn this off because it gets super noisy with the way that this thing sounds, just because it's the SRT Hellcat. So the media screen itself, in some of the lower trim levels, it's going to be the Uconnect 4 media screen, which is great. Like, it's a good screen, but we do have the option for the new Uconnect 5. And one of the beautiful things about that new media screen is that it does support wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So that's definitely a nice thing because we do have the option for a wireless charging pad in this vehicle. So we've got wireless charging, wireless CarPlay, and we are going fully wireless across the board. So it is absolutely beautiful. Now, one of the great things is that, yeah, we've got the option for factory navigation there, but because we can connect through Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, we've got Apple Maps, Google Maps, and Waze that we can use directly through this middle screen. As we start to move down, we have a ton of different options. We've got our volume rocker, tuning rocker, we've got our heated and ventilated first row seats for the driver and for the passenger side, which is a nice thing. And then we've also got our dual zone climate control. We can select if it's going to our windshield, face, feet, etc. We've also got some SRT pages, so our performance pages. There's launch control inside of this thing. So nice. We'll see what that's like in a bit. We've got our four-way blinkers, traction control, our park sensing system, so that reverse sensing system, we can turn that one on or off. And then we can also turn our lane keeping system on or off as well. Now moving down a tiny little bit, we do have 4 individual USB ports, so our traditional USB, and then 2 USB-C as well. As I mentioned, we do have a wireless charging pad there, and we do have a little storage space. Now, this thing, the shifter itself, absolutely beautiful. It's really, really great. Just feels nice in the hand, really reminiscent of the Charger and the Challenger as well. It's this beautiful hand grip. And one of the great things is that we do also have a manual mode. So we can drop down into our drive, flip it over to manual so that we can manually shift out gears using the shifter, but we do also have the flexibility to use the paddle shifters up here instead. So we could go one way or the other depending on your own comfort level. Down a tiny little bit more, we do have a few cup holders there with a little bit of ambient lighting. We've got a little storage tray, and then we also do have our armrest here. Now, this specific one does have the dual TVs in behind that first row. So we do have a DVD player, actually, well, I should say a Blu-ray disc player here. We've got our eject there. And one thing to note, if we didn't have the media screens in the back, we wouldn't have this there. So we would just have more storage space, but we do also have a 12-volt power point in the front here. So if we want to plug in a traditional cigarette lighter adapter, we've got that flexibility. Now, one of the other nice things, just to the left-hand side of the glove box, we've got another 12-volt power point there. So we do have power literally all over the place inside of this thing. So we can power some things up quite a little bit of places. Now, as we start to move up overhead, we've got a beautiful dash there. And I love the way that the media screen in this thing looks with the Uconnect 5. It's just laid out very, very beautifully inside of this thing. Now, just to the left-hand side of the screen, we are push-button start inside of this vehicle, and we do have an integrated brake controller. So if your trailer has electronic braking, we can control that from inside of this vehicle as well, which is definitely a nice thing. Moving up, we do have an auto-dimming rear-view mirror. We've got our SOS mode, we've got our assist, and then we can also turn that rear-view mirror so that the auto-dimming mirror, we can turn that one on or off if we want to. Up overhead, we do have a sunglasses holder. We do also have a few light controls. We've got our control for our lift gates. We can go up and down with that one. We've got our basic vent control as well for the actual sunroof. Now this thing also does have the optional HomeLink system, which means that we can program in a garage door opener if we've got one in at home as well. So we can program in the code there, which is always a nice touch. Up overhead a bit more, we've got a little business card holder along the top. We've got a little vanity mirror with a built-in light, and we can extend this thing out quite a little bit actually if we need to. So block out a little bit of sun there. But overall, I am super impressed with what Dodge has done with this thing. I think it looks absolutely beautiful with a great amount of functionality as well. Now, moving into the second row. So driver's seat set up for somebody who's 6 feet tall, still have a great amount of knee room, good amount of foot space, and up overhead, I've got like 3.5, almost 4 inches of head space up here. So really great to know that you will be able to get some taller people back here. Now, this specific version of the vehicle does have the optional sunroof, so available in the majority of trim levels optionally. It's not going to be a full panoramic, but we at least have a nice sunroof along the top there, at least for that driver passenger for that first row. Now, second row feature-wise, this one does have the optional TV screens. And one of the cool things, it's got DVD support in the armrest. We've got 2 individual HDMI ports, 2 individual AV ports, so your old school RGB cables. So we can plug in a few things into the back of this thing, which is definitely a nice thing. Now, whether you go for this as an option or not is going to be a matter of preference. You could always slap up iPads as well if you wanted to, but it is nice that it's fully integrated into the vehicle. Other things to point out, we do have pockets along the driver passenger side there, so along behind the second row seats, our basic window control buttons there. We've got a hook along the back there as well. And other than that, so we do have the option in the Durango for a 6 or a 7-seat configuration. The SRT Hellcat is going to be a 6-seat configuration only, so we don't have the option for a bench row in this second row. But if we did, it would literally just be a bench row there. But one of the nice things is that we do have these seats that can kind of flip forward there, which is definitely a nice thing. Let's actually hop outside. I'll show you how that part of it works. Looking at the second row seats, we've got a few different ways that we can actually fold these things down, because we've got a little lever just along the side there where we can pull this and down it goes. So it really is that simple to be able to actually just fold this seat down, but we've got a little tab along the back there as well. So after we get the seat folded down, we can pull that in order to be able to create an easier pass-through into the back here. So, I mean, whether or not you use this is going to depend on you, because in the 6-seat configuration, we do have a little pass-through in that middle to easily get in the back there, but it is nice to know that we can also crank this little tab up in order to create an even easier pass-through for taller people to get into that third row instead. Now, this specific version of the vehicle, we do have heated second row seats. Now, if you've got the option for the heated second row seats, that's strictly going to be for the outboard seats if you get the bench row in the middle. So this middle seat is never going to be heated no matter what. But we've got quite a few controls just behind the armrest here. So we can figure out if the fan's going to our face or to our feet. We've got a few USB power points. We've got our seat warming buttons in the back here so we can turn on our heated seats to the second row. And then we've also got a 150 watt power point. So a traditional wall outlet. So we can plug things into the back of this vehicle as well, which is definitely a great thing. Now up overhead, we do have some basic controls for our cabin lights. We do have our basic vent control along the top as well. And then we've got some more advanced climate controls up here. So we've got our fan control, we've got whatever the fan temperature is, and then we can also have this going to our windshield. And then we can also have this going to our face or feet as well if we'd like to. So it is kind of nice that we've got some more added controls along the top there. But like I said, this thing is absolutely beautiful. Like the small touches in the way that this thing is put together, the beautiful stitching along the seams there, the SRT Hellcat badge, like Dodge did not take any stops when they put this vehicle together. I absolutely love the look of it. Now we do have a few other options as well. Like we look at something like the Citadel where we're going to have a suede top instead. But I mean, I love the way that this thing looks in the setup that we've got. But beautiful look overall. I think that Dodge did a really great job on this vehicle. Like overall, I am thoroughly impressed with what I've seen so far. All right, well, looking at third row spacing inside of the Durango. So I'm 6 feet tall. I've got this second row seat set up for somebody who's 6 feet tall, and I still have a couple inches of knee space, a good amount of foot space though. Up overhead with me sitting fully upright, I've got maybe an inch and a half roughly of head space. So, I mean, it is nice to know that there is still quite a little bit of space back here because, I mean, if you had 6 full-size versions of me sitting around this car, it actually wouldn't be too shabby. Now, feature-wise in the back, there's not a ton of stuff in the third row. We've got some small cup holders along the side there. Along the very top, we've got some basics for our vent control. And then we can also control the cabin lights in the back here as well. And that's really about it. But the styling of this thing, I absolutely am in love with the styling, the coloring of these seats. It feels incredible. Nice perforated along the middle there. Filling up fuel inside of the Durango is along our driver's side door, and we've got a capless system. So just insert your fuel hose, fill up, and you're good to go. Now, the type of fuel that you use is going to depend on which version of the vehicle you've got. So which engine do you have underneath the hood? When we look at the base engines, so the 3.6 Pentastar and the 5.7 Hemi, those can use regular gas, so regular octane is okay. Looking at what's going on underneath the hood of the SRT and the Hellcat, the 6.4 and the 6.2 liter Hemi, you are absolutely going to want to use a premium fuel inside of these things. So premium recommended directly from the manufacturer. Now, whether you go with the 91 or the 94 is going to depend on your budget, but you will notice a slight performance increase, especially in the SRT Hellcat, when you use a 94 octane instead. Next up, taking a peek at the key fob of the vehicle. So beautiful look there. We've got our SRT Hellcat logo along the back. Now this thing does have an emergency access key as well, so if we need to lock out compartments, things like that, that's where we're going to do it. Along the front of the fob, we've got our unlock and our lock button, our trunk release, our remote start, as well as our horn or a panic alarm button. Now, in order to be able to remote start the vehicle, we can just push this button twice. We don't have to worry about locking it, so we press twice, and watch a second. Oh, listen to that beauty. So that's a remote start. To cancel, we just press that circle button again once. There you go. As you can see, remote start is now canceled. Now, getting into the trunk of the vehicle is also pretty straightforward because on the fob itself, we've got this button just next to remote start. We can double press that in order to get in. But one of the nice things about this vehicle is that we do also have the option for a power liftgate depending on which trim level of the vehicle we've got. Now that in the GT version and above, it is going to be a power liftgate. So handle underneath, we just grab that, pull, and look at this. Oh, up it goes. This is nice. Now, we've got the option of doing it on the fob, we've got that button press there, and we've also got another button on the inside just to the left-hand side of the steering wheel. Now, a few things to point out. We do have a cargo shade that's going to be standard there. We can easily take this out, so remove adding in and etc. But take a peek at the cargo dimensions of the vehicle. So as you can see there, we have a nice amount of width, depth, and height. Now, a few things to point out. I've got a few different measurements because we've got a base measurement from the back here up to the actual lip of the loading area. When we go inside, we get literally about 2 extra inches of space when we have this third row folded down. So there is quite a little bit of space back here. Now, not a ton of space, but a nice amount. And one of the great things about the Durango lineup is that we can also fold these seats down. And it is a manual process across the entire lineup there. And as you can see, we've got a series of different handles there. We can literally just pull the handle in order to be able to fold the seat down. So that's the same left versus right side. But look at the difference in the depth when we have that second row folded down. So we have quite a little bit of space there, and it is a 50-50 split. So we can fold down one side or the other if we need to. Now, folding down the second row is also pretty straightforward. So just to the left-hand side there, we do have a little lever there. We can fold that down very simply. And very similar, I'm going to have a few different measurements showing up there as well. So you do lose a little bit of space at the very front of the vehicle there for the height, but the height in the back is going to stay the same. It's just that we lose a couple of extra inches and the inside there. But it is nice to know we can fold down one side or the other. Now, one thing to note, this is the 6-seat configuration. So no matter which trim level of the vehicle you're looking at, the third row is always going to have 2 seats. The second row is going to have either 2 or 3, depending on how you have it configured. All right, now, as we start to take a peek forward, so we do have a button along the side there. We would press that in order to be able to close this thing if we don't want to break our key fob out. Now, a few other things to point out. We do have a little storage space along the left-hand side, and we also do have a 12-volt power point off to the right, so pretty straightforward. Now, we do also have this tray, so it's not removable. It's still locked into place there, but we can fold it up and over. When we do that, we have a nice amount of storage space down here, and we've also got a little hidden compartment. So we can literally push these things down. We've got a little removable tray there, but this is where we're going to find our jack as well as our spigot. So if we need to fill up the car using a jerry can, we're gonna make sure we put that spigot in first, but it is pretty straightforward. We can lock that back into place very, very simply there as well. Now on top of that, if things get a little bit messy, we do also have this thing that's completely removable, so we can literally clean this thing out, spray it down, etc. And then we also do have our tire lock. So if we ever need to get to our spare tire that's underneath the vehicle, we would just need to go there in order to be able to unlock this thing. You know, once we have the seats down there, in order to be able to pick them back up again, it's pretty straightforward. So as you can see there, we've got this little tab there. We can pull that up in order to be able to bring the seat back up. Same thing on the left versus the right side for this third row. So just pull, click it, lock it back into place. And then on the back of these, we also have a little piece of Velcro. So we can literally just stick these back so that they're not kind of flopping all over the place. But it really is that simple to be able to fold the seats down and bring them back up again. All right, this will be good. Oh, listen to that whine. Oh, that is amazing. That's amazing. Oh, and we're just starting. Oh, this is going to be good. Oh, that sounds nice. Oh, the sound of this thing is unbelievable. Oh, this is great. I don't know if I'm going to be able to use launch control in this thing. Like, what's the use of launch control when you can do this? Like, that is so good. Oh, that is so good. Oh. So nice, so nice. And one of the things I absolutely love is how we can adjust each individual mode. Like having it so that all-wheel drive is a little bit different, stability control is different, we can change out the suspension and things like that, so it's gonna stiffen up the overall dynamic of the ride. Like this is kind of crazy. So like the launch control, yeah, launch control is unavailable. Oh no, what did it say? Because it's a new vehicle. Oh, no way. Oh no, I can't even use launch control yet because the vehicle's not broken in. Oh, of course. I honestly, I had no idea. I did not know that would have been the case. Launch control unavailable, new vehicle. What? That just general safety so people aren't destroying their cars when they first get them, I think is a brilliant idea. At the same time, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate that I don't have that flexibility to be able to use it though. Oh, all right. You know what that means. I'm gonna have to try to hunt down a used SRT Durango in order to be able to, Hellcat Durango, to figure out what this is like. But I can at least open it up a tiny little bit on the highway. So let's have some fun. Oh, I'm barely even trying. Oh, I'm like, wait a minute, why is it it's in miles per hour right now as well? I was like, this isn't right. How am I only going 60 right now? Oh, that's it. Okay, perfect. That's better. Oh, that is nice. Oh my gosh, that's nice. I feel like Dr. Frankenstein right now is just revealed his monster. Like, it's alive! This thing is beautiful. Wow. Okay, feeling again. Gonna give it a little bit of gas. Listen to that sound. Oh. So nice, and it's got me hovering in 8th gear right now as well, which makes sense because it's kind of like the chill, like hangout type of gear instead. But that sounded really, really nice. Like I said, the performance when I put my foot down as well was unbelievable. Dodge, this is great. And this is the Durango Hellcat. Like, I haven't even been inside of a Challenger or a Charger Hellcat. Like, I could only imagine with the weight you'd save what the difference in that thing's gonna be. But this by itself is so good. Okay, here we go again. Oh, wrong lane, wrong lane. Nice, Audi, nicely done. I love that. Where do I go? Where am I going? Where am I going? What's happening? Oh, chaos! Oh, this is great though. Oh, this is trouble. Like, the top speed on this thing, 320 kilometers an hour, looking at the actual speedometer right now. I kind of want to take this thing on a track and see what I could do, because I was in a Nissan GTR, and like I was able to get that thing up to like 140, no, more than that. I think it was like 180-ish, roughly in like the straightaway. I maxed it out at about, it was like 181 or 82 or something like that, and that was nice. But that was not a 6.2 supercharged Hemi, so oh, I could only imagine what this thing would be like on a track. Dangerous, dangerous, and like the best of ways all at the same time. There we go, and that was a look at the 2021 Dodge Durango, specifically the SRT Hellcat. What did you think? Because I absolutely love this vehicle. The features, the technology, the power is so good. What did you think? If you have any questions, comments, drop down below and let me know. If you have an idea for a future video, let me know and I'll give you a shout out in that video when it's shot. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your social networks. Definitely think about subscribing, but at least hit that like button because it does help out. Until I see you next time though, take care.